Marketing benefits of blogging. Communicating with potential customers. Brian Solis says that blog posts inherently boast the ability to share expanded content, such as text and video and audio and images and tags and other links, in order to more effectively and deeply express, explain, and support the ideas and context related to any given topic. So it's a lot of stuff there that blogs are able to do. It's able to share all of those different things. It's able to do it in as much detail as is necessary. And you can find information on just about anything. You can also create content on just about anything. Word of mouth marketing. Word of mouth marketing may be more than twice as effective as traditional marketing. It results in more new customer acquisitions and has longer lasting results. It has that aura of credibility that comes with it. When you have a reputation as such that people are willing to talk you up and talk your brand up, talk your organization up, talk up the things that you're doing online, people are more apt to listen to those people and check things out for themselves. So it does have a strong ability to be able to attract an audience if you are working to attract an audience yourself and providing things that is worthy of attracting an audience. Blogging facilitates word-of-mouth marketing in several ways. Blogging makes messages portable and easy for others to link to or share. Blogs create new topics, much like mini press releases that spur public discussion. A blog provides a center for conversation by way of comments or by replying. And blogging builds credibility with other bloggers, making it more likely that they will pass the word along. So all these things are wonderful benefits of word-of-mouth marketing, and blogging is a great way to get people to look at you and talk about you and talk you up. When receiving feedback, well, one of the things that you have to watch out for. Due to its comments feature, a blog makes it easy for viewers to respond to the topic at hand. That can be a great thing. It is also something that you have to make sure that you pay attention to in case the feedback that's being received is, a little less than ideal. As an accessible and informal way for customers to provide feedback, a blog can save time and money that a company would otherwise have to spend seeking out in terms of getting that same information. A blog can provide, with the comments feature, people to give honest opinions about things that can be done in such a way that, because people are willing to share rather brutally honestly at times, can even be more valuable than some of the traditional ways of data gathering, such as surveys and things like that. All right, linking a blog to marketing objectives. The difficulty of blogging successfully is why over 50% of blogs are abandoned within the first 90 days. It seems like it would be an easy enough thing. Start a blog, start writing, talk about whatever's on your mind. Even just personal blogs, some people get overwhelmed with what sort of content to create, how often they should create the content, the pressure to try to keep things pretty regular and relevant. And it can be an overwhelming thing, and a lot of people give up on it after a short amount of time. When deciding on whether to start a blog and what the goals of the blogging should be, it is important to consider the overall marketing goals and objectives. Such considerations will help to determine the right type of content to create based on the audience being reached. Again, everything needs to flow out of the overall vision and mission, and that your goals are set in such a way that your goals support that mission and vision. And what you do in the online space is going to need to reflect ways of achieving those goals. It'll also make following up on and maintaining a blog more achievable. So if you have a plan in place as to the regularity of your content, perhaps making an outline of the types of content that you are going to provide and how you're going to provide that, the more that you think about those things in advance, the better it's going to be for you in terms of implementing and being successful at a strategy with blogging. Monitoring the blogosphere. One of the primary benefits from blogging is to learn about the tone of the online community with regard to certain subjects. So it's definitely a great thing where you can get that interaction and that feedback that we've been talking about. However, there is a challenge with that. Relevant comments are likely to be dispersed through a huge number of different blogs. People may not necessarily seek you out just to tell you what they think on your own platform. They may use several other platforms and several other blogs in order to share information about you and your brand. In theory, the more that people enjoy a certain post, the more likely they are to pass along or recommend that post to others. However, view count alone gives no insight on whether overall sentiment is positive or negative, or if any of these people will ever become potential leads. You could have several shares on a piece of content, but you might have several shares because somebody thinks your content is just that ridiculous. So you want to keep that in mind, plus the fact that there's all sorts of artificial intelligence and things out there. So the raw numbers of the number of shares is not necessarily going to be your best metric for being able to determine success, but it is one that you need to pay attention to. Many paid software sites and suites exist for the purpose of monitoring social media. These suites can cost hundreds of dollars a month in order to license and to run. So there are ways to not have to search out the interwebs all by yourself. There are tools that are out there, but they can be costly. It is impossible to finely tune a blogging strategy without some feedback on what needs to be changed or which content people find most attractive. So you do have to pay attention. You do have to watch and see what the flavor is out there. Otherwise, it's kind of like driving blind. You're steering, you've got a direction that you think you're going into, but you don't know if that's the destination that you need to go to. So you have to pay attention to these things. All right. Let's move on from blogging now and talk about video streaming. Video streaming is best suited to live interactive content. So the stuff that you would tune into in order to be part of the moment, where it is vitally important to the content and to the experience in order to be able to take that content in live. Viewers can comment on the video they are seeing and interact with a brand, not only through still photographs, but with what is happening at the particular moment. So it makes it that much more imminent for people, and they like experiencing that, participating with something as it happens. Streaming is best done when shared online and when other forms of social media are used to interact also. So when you're going to do a live stream, it's good to promote it in advance, including right before when the stream happens. Share it on platforms other than just where you're doing the streaming so that you can capture as much of an audience as you possibly can. Marketing through podcasting. A podcast is a digital audio or video file that is episodic, downloadable, and program driven, mainly with a host or a theme. And it's also going to be convenient, and usually by means of an automated feed with computer software. So we're talking about something that generally is going to be pre-recorded, something that is going to be archived in some way on some sort of a platform where it's easy to find, and the moment that it's available, certain services will make notification to users that that podcast is available and they can check it out at their leisure. Podcasts can be consumed one of three ways. They can be played directly off the website on a computer. Go to the website for that organization, find the podcast, click on it, listen. Download it to a computer and listen to offline, or download it to a portable MP3 player for listening offline as well. And of course, basically any sort of device that can get onto the internet is most likely going to be able to capture a podcast in one way or another. The big thing to know about the history of podcasting is that what really has made podcasting attractive is the ability to be able to subscribe to broadcast and get notifications that a podcast is available. RSS is the technology that makes that happen. RSS stands for Really Simple Syndication. So when you subscribe to a podcast, or really to anything that uses RSS technology, the RSS will be able to notify you when that content is available, and then you can go and check it out. Okay, creating and sharing podcasts. First off, choose a format. There's three primary formats that you can choose from, at least what is traditionally out there as far as podcasts go. First off, the presentation format. You can record a live monologue or give a simple talk on a subject, and that's a podcast. Question and answer. Q&A sessions can be set up with one or more individuals in order to give the listener or viewer more information. Thirdly, third format, co-hosted. A podcast is co-hosted, and when that happens, it basically becomes a talk show, where one person asks questions, another person answers, or that you've got more than one person sitting around a round table having a discussion. Those sorts of things create interesting content as well. In deciding the content focus for a podcast, there are three different possibilities. There's the instructional, where you learn something. There's the informative, that helps create awareness about a certain issue. And then there's entertainment, the stuff that we listen to just for fun. A particular target audience is more likely to be drawn by a unique and distinctive theme, so regularity in content can help to draw more subscribers. It's the idea that if you think about something that you watch on television, you know that your favorite show is on at a certain time, on a certain day, each week, and you make plans to be able to tune in and watch that program at that particular time. Or if you're more of the on-demand sort of person, if you know that a show gets uploaded at a certain day and time, you may be more likely to kind of know that schedule so that you have a sense of when you can check out the latest content that's available. Works the same way for podcasts. If you know when a show gets uploaded, if you got if you have a loyalty to a certain podcast, you'll kind of get to know their schedule and know when you can consume new content. Do not attempt to create a one-size-fits-all type of broadcast. Focus instead on the interest of a specific target audience. You're not going to be able to create something by and large that is going to attract anybody and everybody. Know who your target audience is. Use information based on demographics, psychographics, all the things that we've talked about in previous chapters, and make sure that your message is being tailored to that particular audience and the desires of that audience. All right. Producing podcasts. Many factors can contribute to a podcast's success or failure. You can choose an articulate moderator. That will help greatly. Have a moderator who has minimal verbal static and has a strong vocal presence. Someone that knows how to string a sentence or a thought together. Someone that knows the way to use different types of vocal skills and abilities in order to capture a listener's attention. Very important, especially when you're talking about audio podcasts where all you have to go on is what the ear is hearing. Choose somebody that's articulate. Create talking points, not scripts. In this case, we're not necessarily interested in hearing someone read off a piece of paper. We want something that's a little more authentic sounding, something that's kind of creating this sense that people know what they're talking about and don't necessarily need to have things written out for them. Having a cue sheet, an outline of notes, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but don't just read off of a script. And brevity. When creating a podcast, determine the content first and then the length second. One of the benefits of the podcast is that you don't necessarily have to be restricted by time. You don't always have to have exactly 3 minutes or exactly 10 minutes or exactly an hour or whatever it is. There's flexibility there. However, you do want to make sure that you're not taking too much time on a certain type of subject, in that you don't want to bore your audience or go on and on and on and waste time if the content is not compelling enough to have that long of a piece of audio. So make sure your content is appropriate and make sure that you're not going on and on forever with that content. Avoid over-editing. Too much editing can make the podcast sound choppy and forced. Again, the internet likes things that are authentic and rather natural sounding, that sound very real. So, it is okay to edit things out that are just gross mistakes, but for the most part, you want content that sounds real. So don't over-edit your content. And then, if you're able to, not a bad idea to include music. Introducing the podcast with a brief clip of music lends to a professional air to the production and keeps the audience engaged. It also makes the podcast more memorable because you can associate a piece of music with a particular podcast. And you hear that music, you know that that podcast is there and it leaves an impression. Again, though, just like we've talked about with any sort of project that would involve music, you want to make sure that you have the proper permissions to use that music. Whether you go out and purchase the rights to a piece of music or have a production library available to you, or in the online world, it's also okay to use music that is governed by what's called a Creative Commons license. As long as you read the terms of that license and the terms state that you can use a project for, use a piece of music rather for a particular project, go for it. A lot of that stuff is freely available out there. Delivering podcasts to consumers. The advantage of podcasts is that they exploit the ways in which public media viewing habits have changed in recent years. People desire information and entertainment to be available on demand, commercial-free, and anywhere. We've seen this with the advent of on-demand programming with cable television. A lot of different sites now offer the ability to watch, listen to, view content at people's leisure. So making that content available in such a way is a very attractive thing to people these days. Podcasts are a perfect fit with those types of demands, and they allow the listener to download the audio file and listen at their convenience. The more difficult aspect of distributing podcast content is ensuring that it is found by the target audience. To assist a search engine in finding a podcast, it is important to fill out the ID3 tag, a file data tagging format that is recognized by most media playing software. It is important to remember to enter this information manually, because a lot of times whatever you're using as a podcast service, or if you're just uploading it to a website, it's not necessarily going to trigger for you to put that information in. If you were to try to look for that information in a piece of audio, the way that you would do that is if you have an MP3 on your computer, you can right mouse click it if you're in a Windows or Linux environment and choose properties, and then there's a place for you to be able to see all that ID3 tag information. And it is stuff that is searchable by search engines. So it is important to be able to know how to put that stuff in. You can do it manually through your operating system. You can also use audio editing software to help you to do that. In Adobe Audition, if you're in the Edit View screen, where you save your final MP3, before you save the MP3, use Control P, and it will give you the ability to enter in all that information. In Audacity, you can enter it in as you're exporting a file to MP3. So if you use that software, there's a way to do it there as well. Marketing with podcasting. Podcasts have the advantage of both sharing information and putting a human voice or face on a brand. You can associate that person with that particular organization, and it kind of helps to create that connection that is helpful in terms of the social media landscape. A podcast can be a strategic component of the marketing plan, but it requires a strong commitment to creating content that is tailored to the marketing objectives. You have to be disciplined about making sure that you're providing that content on a regular basis and that you're providing content that is relevant to your audience. In addition to indirect marketing, podcasts can bring in independent revenue. There are two very different methods to monetizing podcasts. The first way is to recruit paid sponsors to advertise on the podcasts, much like with any radio or television station. If you take in a lot of podcasts, you will know that there's certain brands out there that seem to be advertising on a lot of different shows. It could be any one of those, or perhaps, depending on the type of content, you can seek out someone that would be a perfect sponsor for the type of content that you are producing. Another way to go about monetizing podcasts is to offer fee-based content. With so many free podcasts floating around, though, it may be difficult to convince consumers to pay for one unless it is truly unique and superior. So if you have really, really good content that people are attracted to and are willing to pay for, this might be a way to go. A third way that's not discussed in the book, and a lot of people are using to help supplement one of these different types of methods, is using voluntary-based subscription types of programs. Things like Patreon and LibrePay, offering to pay content creators through things like PayPal and things like that. There are people out there that will support their favorite content creators in those methods. While the content itself may be free to view, they see the value in supporting the person creating that content so that they will create more content. Speaking persuasively about a field demonstrates confidence and expertise, helping to distinguish a company as a thought leader in the industry. So we talked about thought leadership in Chapter 4. This is a way to be able to build that credibility as a thought leader.